Very much, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, thank you for holding this hearing. I'm going to get to rescuing Americans who are getting mugged by their prescription drug bills, as well as the administration gutting safeguards for those with pre-existing conditions. First, the American people are owed an answer about what is going to be done to protect the thousands of children the Trump administration separated from their mothers and fathers and put in the custody of today's witness. As of this morning, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, and the Justice Department seem to be doing more to add to the bedlam and deflect blame than they're doing to tell parents where their kids are. According to new reports, the government is ransoming these children by telling their parents they can have their kids back if they agree to leave the country. The president tweeted that the U.S. should forget about due process rights for immigrants, essentially an endorsement of judging people by the color of their skin. The White House Chief of Staff floated this family shredding policy in the press more than a year ago. It wasn't conjured out of thin air this spring. But with news reports that the department is scrambling to collect resumes of individuals with experience in child care, it's clear that the department was woefully unprepared. This committee has oversight of the child welfare system. Members here have worked hard on bipartisan child welfare policies that keep families together whenever it's safe. That's because unnecessarily ripping kids from their families and putting them in institutions is harmful to them. It's harmful to their health. It's scarring to their emotional well-being. It's detrimental to their growth. That's a fact, and the Department of Health and Human Services knows it. Secretary Azar, you're certainly going to get questions about this today. An administration that has traumatized thousands of child refugees, dehumanized these kids and their parents, and tried to normalize this behavior through deception has a lot to answer for. Now I'm going to shift to discuss Americans getting hit with those enormous bills when they go up to the pharmacy window. When the president said in early 2017 that drug companies were getting away with murder, he offered his diagnosis of the prescription drug cost problem. A year and a half later, it sure looks like he's decided not to treat the problem. The president made prescription drug costs a key part of his pitch to the American people on health care. But the party in power hasn't done any legislating on it. They put out a so-called blueprint, essentially a collection of the same questions that have been asked on these issues for a decade or more. To me, this so-called administration blueprint looks less like a blueprint than it does like blue smoke and mirrors. And a lot of what the president and his team have said is just head-scratching. For example, the administration says that European countries are freeloaders. He said that if drugs got more expensive overseas, in effect fattening the wallets of the pharmaceutical companies, prices fall at home. That is just fantasy land. I don't know what magic wand the administration plans on using to hike drug prices in other countries, but I don't know of having the power today exists. Second, even if drug companies did come into a windfall from overseas, it's laughable to expect that they take that as a reason to slash prices in America. Look at the Trump tax law. Huge amounts of cash were showered on these multinational drug companies. What did they do with it? They put it into stock buybacks that benefit shareholders, not consumers. One other trip to pharmaceutical fantasy land. On May 30th, the president said that in 2 weeks, drug companies would announcing, and I quote here, voluntary massive drops in prices. 2 weeks went by, 3 weeks went by, it's been a month. No massive drops in prescription drug bills, folks. As long as Americans are getting mugged at pharmacy counters from sea to shining sea, this issue demands serious bipartisan action. To begin that effort in a serious bipartisan way, this morning I'm releasing a comprehensive report that looks exactly at what makes this industry complicated and why those policies do so much to make sure that prices just go up and up and up. And it's not just to look at the drug manufacturers. There are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. Middlemen, distributors, misplaced incentives, broken out-of-date policies on the law books. So the report is a comprehensive look under the hood of the entire pharmaceutical industry for the first time. Otherwise, what Americans get from the Trump administration, and the president in particular, when you look at the record, is talk. The fact is their blueprint has raised issues that have been raised for quite some time. And the administration needs to stop pretending that asking the same questions that have already been asked is the equivalent to getting results. The fact is there's a big gap between the triumphant headlines the Trump administration tries to grab on prescription drugs and the lack of serious proposals put forward. So today, I hope we'll see that gap getting closed. One last issue. The Trump administration said recently it was going to get out of the business of defending protections for Americans who have pre-existing health conditions. These protections, as millions of Americans know, because it lets them sleep more soundly at night, are the law of the land. And it isn't a narrow policy that applies to only a handful of people. There are more than 150 million Americans who get insurance through their employers. And I bet they're going to be very surprised to learn that this Trump decision can hurt them too. If you don't have a pre-existing condition, I guarantee you know somebody who does. And the Trump administration decided it just isn't interested in protecting them. So we have a lot to do this morning, Mr. Chairman, and as always, as we've done so often in the past, I look forward to working with you in a bipartisan way.